everyone. My name is Ruth and I work at the Butler County Farm Bureau. And today we're going to talk about Christmas tree farms and how they work all year round so that they can sell Christmas trees between Thanksgiving and Christmas for everybody to have in their homes. Now the book that we're going to read is called The Christmas Tree Farm. It's by Mary Lynn Ray. Wilma has grown petunias and sunflowers for years. She was ready to graduate to something else, but she couldn't decide what. When snow fell on the last of the sunflower stalks, Wilma still did not know how to make her garden different next year. And now there was Christmas to think of. On her big hill, Wilma had looked in July for the right tree to cut in December. Her Christmas began when she went from the one she had chosen and brought it home to her parlor. But before she wrapped the green branches with lights, she thought of people who had no back hill. Where would they find such a fine tree? Then Wilma knew. She knew what to plant instead of her petunias. She needed a shovel, string, scissors, and plenty of time. She needed good brown earth. She had them all. So Wilma ordered 62 dozen small starts of balsam for spring. That is, the small little seedlings. She was pretty good at counting by dozens. When she made donuts on Saturday morning, she always made a dozen. But 62 dozen was a lot of trees. She would need help setting them all out. Parker lived next door. He was 5. Like the seedlings, every 4th of July, Wilma and Parker made a parade, waving flags and banging on pots and pans. At Halloween, they made jack-o'-lanterns. Parker had helped Wilma grow sunflowers. He would help her again. As soon as the ground was warm, Wilma and Parker began. Using balls of string, they measured 24 straight rows. Then they dug 62 dozen holes, and they planted 62 dozen trees. That adds up to 744 trees. That's a lot of trees, isn't it? Look at it. Will they be ready by Christmas, said Parker. No, said Wilma, the trees have to grow through the summer, the fall, the winter, the spring, and then they have to grow some more. While they grow, Parker told the trees about Christmas. He knew all about Christmas. To keep the grass from covering their trees, he and Wilma weeded around each one. That's a lot of trees to weed around, isn't it? Then October leaves blew across the trees and November snow began to fall. Before winter's end, some of the trees were lost to the mice that ate their stems and their roots. But 719 remained. So if you take 744 and it said 719 are left, that means that the first winter they lost 25 trees. The young trees woke with the spring, and again Wilma and Parker weeded around them, and Parker told them things. Now that he was 6, he knew even more than when he was 5. On summer nights, the brown moths fluttered among the trees, fireflies flickered above them, and whippoorwills called across the darkness. Then fall came and winter. During the long, cold winter, some of the trees were lost to the deer that dug in the snow and chewed on the sweet green tips. But 673 survived. So the second winter, 673 survived. They lost 46 that winter. When Parker came to help with the spring chores, Wilma had been shopping for a tractor. She chose a blue one with a horn. Though there was nothing to honk at except the sky, the ring of mountains, yellow daffodils, and Parker. Wilma left him try the horn. Parker would have liked to drive the tractor too, but 7 wasn't old enough to drive it. The trees weren't old enough either. When Christmas came, they were still too small to cut, so they slept through another winter. Again, some were lost to the mice and the deer, storms and ice, but when spring came, there were 654 left. Wilma mowed, Parker ran around the rows counting 652 was a big number to count, but Parker could do it now that he was 8. So 652, they lost 21 that winter. So every winter, they have some trees that get damaged, and they can't sell those. No one wants a Christmas tree that isn't perfect. All summer, the bobolinks decorated the trees with song. Then fall came, and winter came, and the snow came again. The moose, there's a big moose right there, cracked some of the branches and chewed on them, but 617 trees survived. So now, they lost 35 that winter. That summer the trees were 9. It was time to shape them. Wilma and Parker worked together. Now that he was 9, Parker could reach almost as tall as Wilma. Some of the trees they left as their branches had grown for people who liked trees that way. The rest they trimmed round and round for people who liked them that way. Soon the trees would be Christmas trees. One more winter and the trees slept under the snow. Only 2 were lost to ice, 11 to the moose and 7 to the deer. But 597 remained. So if they had 597, that meant that they lost 20 trees that winter. It was a busy spring for a boy and for trees turning 10. Parker and Wilma painted a sign. It said Christmas Tree Farm. Then they built a stand and they bought tags, 50 dozen tags. At the end of the summer, they put up a second sign and it said trees for sale. Some people came in August to choose a tree and tag it. Some came in October, but some even came in November. The most came in December. All months, Wilma and Parker were cutting and carrying and sledding the trees and making change from the money box. They sold 656 trees. Then a family who had a Christmas tree lot in the city came and bought another 210, filling their big red truck to the top. So if they sold 356 trees, and then they sold another 210, do you know how many they had left? They had 31 trees left out of all those trees. At last it was time for Parker and Wilma to choose their trees. That night across the yard, Christmas twinkled. So if we had 31 trees and Parker and Wilma each got a tree, there were 29 left. Far away in rooms they never saw, in places they never knew, 566 trees that Wilma and Parker had grown wore lights and balls and tinsel in their branches. Green balsam branches that smelled the sweet smell of Christmas. Back on the hill, 29 trees that weren't chosen began the winter again. Parker told them they would grow tall and for people who wanted tall trees next year. By spring, new green would appear with each cut tree had been. One tiny sprout would become a new trunk and the trees would grow back. But some sprouts might be crooked, some might be chewed, and there was room for the farm to start over again. So they need to buy some more trees to plant, don't they? So one Saturday night, each eating a donut, Wilma and Parker filled out an order for 83 dozen new seedlings. That's more than they had the first time. Then they waited for spring to come. So they made a business out of planting and carrying and trimming those trees. But it took 10 years, didn't it, for them to grow. So it took them 10 years to be able to sell them. So now, when you look at Christmas trees, you can see that some of them have little short needles, some of them have long, soft needles. So there are different kinds, aren't there? And there's also, at my house, there are different kinds. These pine cones grow on the trees. And in these pine cones, when they're all closed up, are where the seeds are. When those seeds drop out of the pine cones, then they are planted. So at my house, there are different sizes of pine cones, different types of trees, aren't there? So now, what I want you to do is I've sent some extra sheets for you to work on, and I've also sent you the Christmas tree bingo. So you each can have a Christmas tree card, and you can see all the numbers on both sides of the Christmas tree. So your teacher is going to have math problems for you. And every time the teacher asks you to figure out the answer, you're going to look on your bingo card. If the answer was 5, then you take a penny and you would cover that number 5. And when you've covered all 5, or there's 6 in a row, then you have to call out bingo and you will get a prize. So I hope you have a good time playing the Christmas tree bingo and have a Merry Christmas. Thanks. Bye.